What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. This is episode number 20, guys. 20 in the books. I know, right? It's been a journey. Soon we're gonna be at 1 year, to be honest. We started in like September, I believe. So we're only 3 months away from 1 year. That's crazy. Ricky, glad to have you back. How are you doing today?
I am on cloud 9. I'm hoping to be cloud 18 by tomorrow night.
I was gonna say, where are we going with this? It's not even 9 a.m. for you, but I like where you're going with that. Sorry, I'm still getting used to a camera angle up here. I'm trying different things out. I'll change lighting and stuff like that, guys. But hopefully you're here for the awesome content that we're going to be giving you today. We're going to be talking Celtics being up 3-0. This is the first time we've talked about the Celtics in a while, and they're one win away from becoming world champions. Plus, a huge debate that's been going on lately, especially ever since the finals matchup was set over a week ago, and that's Tatum versus Luka. I was talking to a friend, and he made a point that I thought was very interesting. So I kind of want to address that later in this video. We also want to go over top MLB prospects because a certain somebody has been anointed number one, which is a big claim to fame. However, you got to live up to the hype and expectations of being number one. And of course, we're going to be talking about the National being 1 month away. Like I made a video that's coming out. I'm looking at my calendar, a week and a half or so, kind of diving more into it. Ricky and I were going to be talking about it here as well, as we're both very, very excited for not only today's episode, but everything we're going to be talking about. Ricky, where do you want to start?
I want to talk about this Luka versus Tatum thing because I'm interested to see what the conversation was about.
Okay, so let me actually pull it up because I have to go back. I have to switch my accounts. I have to pull it up, go to my notifications, pull up the conversation. So a friend of mine who was an Eagles fan, so we got to start there.
Oh, God. Okay.
He says people trying to tell me that Tatum is better than Luka. At exactly what? Now, I think arguably they're both very skilled players. I think Luka's probably has an edge in terms of scoring. But, I mean, if you go pound for pound, I mean, they're both very comparable. It's just people love Luka, not only in the hobby, but in the media world. So it just by default, he's got like a leg up. 1A, 1B. It doesn't matter. So I commented, this was before game 3 win. I commented, he's better at winning. LOL. Now, wasn't trying to jinx anything. I'm just saying you're up 2-0. You've lost 2 total games in the playoffs. I think that's pretty good. And then he said, if Luka did the numbers Tatum been doing, they would be getting effing dog walked right now. Tatum is being carried, but the team is definitely hooping. Mavs other players have to be better. Luka holding his end. No one else is, though. And then I responded, but do you have like a retaliation of that before I can just go through the whole thing if you want.
Go on.
Okay. So I said,
very bad takes.
I said, are we going to blame Tatum for being on a good team? Tatum needs to shoot better and score more, but why force it when Brown, White, Drew, and others are putting up points? Tatum is at least dishing and grabbing boards while playing good defense. Luka is doing what he can offensively, but he's a liability on defense. Now, again, this is before game 3. So then he said, I get all that, but he's also hurt as hell, which is adding to him being a liability on defense most of playoffs. Luka defense has been great, but he's banged up. His team had to step up at least on that end of the floor, but Tatum is still hooping. I'm just saying it'll be nice if Luka can get some help. So I said this. If Tatum was injured, would he still get the same pass Luka is getting? I'd say no. And then he responded, but I never responded to his last comment. Luka ain't getting a pass, but the Celtics have the better team. That's just facts. So we agree there. Okay. Ricky, I'll just kind of let you digest that real quick.
I just think people hate the Celtics.
It's so... They're not toxic, though.
Just find any excuse to hate them. people hate that Tatum is considered a superstar, like because he doesn't put up 1,000 points a game, but he plays basketball and he plays it very fucking good. That's
It's a
why he's
team
just
sport.
like he draws defenders, so he passes it, makes the right pass, gets those assists. He plays defense.
Mm-hmm.
Luka can't even spell defense. He gets boards. He scores when he has to. People
Like,
just hate the Celtics.
I would understand the hatred for the Celtics if we've been there and won it like 2-3 times before. This is like our fourth trip in like 6 years. Like I understand they brought in Drew, they brought in Porzingis, they brought in White, and like when the team was there a couple years ago, it was a homegrown team, and I think a lot of people were rooting for the Celtics against the Warriors because the Warriors again in the finals, like they're gonna win again, 4 rings, all that, and like they made a couple moves, and now everybody hates the Celtics all of a sudden because Tatum isn't scoring 30, 40, 50 points a night. I mean, there's no need to. I mean, Porzingis balled out in game 1. Drew balled out in game 2. And listen, Tatum and Brown balled out in game 3. And I'm going to not really include game 3 because this conversation was before then. But like, why force the issue if Jaylen Brown's getting 25, 30, if Drew's getting 20 to 25, Porzingis when he's out there, he's getting like 15 to 20. Like, what's the point of doing that? You're just going to take bad shots or shoot too much, turn the ball over. You're going to get, it's just basketball is a team sport. And as amazing as we want these superstars to play, I think it's more of now this friend of mine that I talked to, I don't think he cares for sports cards, but I'm going to kind of twist it a little hobby related is the hobby cares about points. I mean, people don't really care about Jokic, even though he puts up 25, 30 points a night, but they like him because he gets rebounds and assists. Luka drops 30, 40 points every night, so people like him. Tatum, I don't know why people like, I mean, I understand why people may not like him because he does bitch and he does complain sometimes, but like, he's
So
doing
does
what you
Luka.
want. Luka's worse at it. Luka's way worse at it than Tatum is. It's puzzling because I think from a team perspective, Tatum's doing everything right. If you have to take the back seat, take the back seat. I don't care. I don't care. Just get the job done. You were 2 wins away, now 1 win away. If Tatum scores 1 point and they win, no one's going to care about that 1 point, except the haters be like, "Oh, in a closeout game, he only scored 1 point." Ooh. So I don't know. I mean, it's a really going into the series, and if the series was more competitive through 3 games, I think it would be a really great conversation to have, Luka versus Tatum, because we've talked about this countless times, Ricky, is like, why is Tatum cards so undervalued compared to Luka cards? Does winning, now let's just try to wind it back a little bit. Say it's game 1. Depending on who wins the series, how much would it affect the loser's value? And then I'll ask you this. If Tatum wins, how much will it affect his value?
I feel like Luka's still. I think Tatum's value is going to go up, but I just don't see Luka getting a drop off in the card market, even if he loses, which is baffling to me. Like I feel like even if Tatum wins, Luka loses. For some reason, I still feel like Luka will still be higher in the card market.
It's crazy because all I'm thinking about right now is just base Prism rookies. Like, what are they going to go for? So I'm trying to look them up real quick on Card Ladder here. I'm trying to get the same card, base PSA 10s. So let's see, when May 31st.
Like 200 and Tatum does like 150.
So May 31st is the highest that a Luka PSA 10 base Prism has been in the last 3 months. I'm probably guessing that's when they won the Western Conference Finals. Actually, no, it would have been probably around then. $311.83 was that sale. Yesterday, one sold for $237.88. So a near $100 drop off, $80 drop off. Let's see. Tatum, in the last 3 months, his value has been as high as $200, and that was on April 1st. April 1st. Now, yesterday, one sold for $145.67. So it's gone down. It's gone down. Should we not be considering Tatum versus Luka, or is it a conversation of Brown versus Luka? Because right now, Brown is their best player, and he has been the better player for the majority of this playoff run.
Yeah, Brown.
But when you think of top 5 players in the NBA, you could probably argue 10 of them are in that mix. Tatum is definitely in that conversation. Whether you like him or you hate him, he's in that conversation. When I think of top 5 players in the league, unfortunately, I'm not thinking of Jaylen Brown. Not yet, maybe next year. But when I think of top 10, 15, like he's in that conversation. Now you're probably inviting 20 to 25 players to be in that top 10, 15 mix.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely one of those players in that conversation. It's just baffling to me that, I mean, Luka's cards have dropped off insanely over the last week. And Tatum cards have more so been steady. It baffles me that just in a vacuum, Tatum is still undervalued. And this is a sport like football that cares about one thing, and that's rings. So if Tatum wins, more than likely going to win, it should be. I'm not going to say it will be, but it should be worth more than Luka. Because if Luka was the one that was to win and Tatum was the one to lose, then Luka's cards would go through the roof, and that Luka was the smartest investment on planet Earth, and that you should buy a ton of them because they're going to go on this crazy good run for the next handful of years. But no one's going to be saying that about Tatum in the Celtics, except Celtics fans, of course. But, in terms of the hobby, no one cares. It just makes no sense to me, Ricky. I'm sorry. And it never will. And I know we've talked about this 1,000 times. It just never will.
I saw someone make a kind of a good point on Facebook about the whole Tatum versus Luka. It's just that Luka kind of has a worldwide
following.
Appeal. Following, yeah.
And that would make sense. Being from Europe, playing professional ball overseas, before he got drafted. And I would argue, okay, that makes sense to me. Where did my sticky note go? I don't know. That would make sense to me.
But then Jokic doesn't have the same following, so I don't know.
And Jokic is also from overseas. He's also from Europe, and he's a one-time world champion, a 3-time MVP, 3 of the last 4 years. Should have been 4 straight years if we're being completely honest.
They gifted that of him.
But he's a center, and no one cares about centers. I mean, whether it was Karl Malone, Kareem, Wilt, I mean, those 2 guys are kind of, branching more towards vintage, but just in a vacuum though, Shaq. If I was to show you a Wilt Chamberlain card or Shaq card or a Luka card, everyone's going to grab for the Luka card. It's wild to me. For reference, I did pull up a Jaylen Brown, a 2016 Prism base in a PSA 10. Last sold yesterday for $148.33, topping out at $150 the other day. June 4th was its lowest sale, at $84. Holy crap. So
it's a nice little flip.
A year ago, if you were to tell me that Jaylen Brown cards would be equivalent or near equivalent in value to Jason Tatum cards, I would have called you preposterous. I would have called you a liar, because we all thought that Tatum is definitively the better player. But like I mentioned, Brown is playing better, and he deserves this recognition. Will it carry over? We'll find out. But win, lose, or draw, people are going to love Luka cards. They're going to love Luka cards. And I do like how you did bring up that international status, so to speak. And it makes sense, and it's a good point. But then again, what about Jokic? Where's his praise? Why doesn't he get any praise? And to me, it makes no sense, with the exception of the fact that he's a He's a center, which I think is a stupid anti-argument if you ask me. Where did that sticky note go?
Even then, he still has the ball in his hands a lot.
That's it. And he doesn't play like a center. He plays like a guard half the time.
He gets those boards. He gets those assists. He puts up 30 a night.
It's like, what do you want from the guy? I mean, I'm curious if he won 4 straight MVPs. Like he would have, and he probably is in that top 15 mix of all time. I mean, that's a huge claim, but like arguably, I mean, he's on that trajectory. But like, what does he have? Like you mentioned earlier, Shaq, one of the most dominant centers of all time. No one cares. No one cares. I mean, I understand his rookie cards were kind of in the junk wax era, but like veteran autos, patch autos, even numbered cards, no one cares. Bill Russell autos, like on card autos. Obviously he's passed away now, so a little different in his market, but like even like a 2021 flawless or national treasures auto of Bill Russell's like $200, $300, which is just bizarre because he's arguably one of the best players of all time. And at least for his generation, he is the best player of all time. It's just make it make sense, Ricky, please. I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
I tell you all the time how there's a lot of shit in this hobby that I do not understand.
I just I don't ask for much in this hobby. All I ask for is consistency. Like, I understand the market's volatile, up and down. I get all that. I do. But like, if rings is the do all be all, especially in football, but in basketball too, especially in terms of conversations. I mean, who's better, LeBron or Jordan? Oh, Jordan's got 6 rings. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay. So if Tatum has a ring and Luka doesn't, then by the majority's logic, Tatum should be better. I'm not going to say, listen, I'm not going to say Drew Holiday is better than Luka because he'll have 2 rings, but like
I will. Drew Holiday is better than Luka.
But like, no one's comparing Drew and Luka constantly like they are comparing Tatum and Luka. So that's where I'm going with that conversation, with that argument. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I hope when we sit down here 2 weeks from now and record that we can sit here and be like, oh, Celtics world champions, they swept them. The Tatum market's been doing this. The Luka market's been doing that. And we can kind of, pick it apart a little bit and see what direction it's truly going to go in. I mean, if the Mavericks are able to kind of pull off an insane comeback, then Luka cards are just going to go through the roof and Tatum cards are just going to crash. I mean, that's just the nature of it. But on the flip side, if Tatum and Brown are able to sweep the Mavericks with the most dynamic backcourt in NBA history, then that should mean something too. But we'll see if it does. Yeah, Anything else you want to talk about in regards to the Celtics before we pivot?
More so Luka, just like even if he sees like a decline in prices, people are just going to buy them all up anyways. So like he's never going to really – I don't think he's going to fade out anytime soon or his prices.
We can jump into the national conversation after we talk about the prospects, but I want to ask you this. If Tatum wins and Luka loses, who's more of a buy at the national? The winner who could repeat, or the loser who has now been there and who has the experience now to go out and do it? Because I remember a couple years ago, no one, when the Celtics lost, I don't remember people buying up Jason Tatum cards because, all right, he's been there, he's lost. A lot of players have done that before. He'll get back and he'll know how to win. Like, I didn't hear that in 2022 for Tatum.
Yeah, I want to say Tatum would be the better buy and they should be buying Tatum, but I just feel like Luka's market is just so stable, or like I just don't think it's going to go down.
I know we've talked about this before, and it's like this was obviously before the matchup was even set, months ago. It's like, even if Luka wins a championship, like how much room is there for his cards to go up because they're already so expensive for a guy who's
Mhm.
ultimately done nothing. Like two Western Conference Finals appearances now, one Finals appearance, no MVPs. It's just like it's bizarre to think that like a guy who's ultimately done nothing in a vacuum. Tatum has also done nothing, before the series started. You would think it would be more similar in value. I mean, people are overvaluing the fact that Luka can go out and drop 30, 40 any night, but Tatum can also do that. Luka's been to the finals again before this playoff run only once, whereas Tatum's been there 4 times in the finals at least once. Not that that means anything in terms of like apples and oranges, but like it's all that we have because none of them have MVPs. They're both all stars. I mean, it's hard to complain about
Mhm.
that. I mean, they're both all NBA players. But the defining factor is rings, in my opinion. I mean, Giannis's market went through the roof. I mean, I know kind of COVID, everything was kind of going up, but when Giannis won in 2021, his market jumped up. When Steph beat the Celtics and he got his finals MVP, not only did he legitimize his legacy, but I think his market went up then. Except you find Leaf autos of him and Kevin Durant that sell for $300, which I'll forever go to my grave saying that's garbage. But like winning a title is so lucrative and so scarce. I know happens every year, but like still, I think it should weigh more because like the hobby needed. I mean, I'm going to football now. The hobby needed Brock Purdy to win, not Mahomes, because we
Yeah.
already know how great Mahomes is, and he will be great for another 10 years, and he'll probably win another two at least. But like in a vacuum, besides Mahomes, who's there to buy? Like Joe Burrow's been there, lost. All right, we haven't seen him back. Richardson played 4 games. He looks good. Stroud, he looked good, but you got to expect some kind of regression there. It's Purdy, the last pick. It's a happy story everybody's rooting for, but at the end of the day, it's all about rings. It's all about rings. So, Ricky, past months, ever since this podcast started, you've always said to buy James Wood, and I couldn't agree more with you. I remember telling you that he will be better or at least as good as Juan Soto. And I think that was an outrageous take at the time. A lot of people thought that. Well, our guy, James Wood, has now been announced the number one prospect in Major League Baseball. Um, Care to react to that?
You know, I like to say I'm shocked, but I'm just so smart. I know everything. I knew
So,
James Wood is going to be that guy.
I,
No, but just watching that kid play, you could tell he's going to be special.
he like it's hard to take spring training seriously when you got Spencer Jones hitting 500-foot home runs and he doesn't even make triple A's and double A. But then like James Wood was doing the same thing and like no one's talking about it because he's on the Nationals and not the Yankees. So like I understand that, but like now he's raked in double A's, raking in triple A, and it's like he's finally getting the attention that he deserves. I think his outfield skills still need to be a little polished. Center field, right field, whatever field he's going to end up being in. But like it's so nice to see that a guy that we were on for so long pan out as good as so far as good as he has. Like obviously he's got to transition to the next level, which we'll hopefully see that maybe next month, next August maybe. But like
Hopefully
here's
by
a
September.
I mean, he's 100% by September. I mean, without a doubt. But like, why not give the guy like 2 weeks at the big league level if an injury pops up, just to give him a taste, just so he can kind of
Mhm.
get used to it, bring him back down, and then he can figure it out. So when he does get called up for good, he'll already have that kind of training under his belt, let's call it. But here's the prospects that James Wood is ahead. So James Wood is number one. Paul Skeens is number two. He'll graduate off this list very shortly, but for them to still consider Paul Skeens a prospect, he doesn't have the major league time yet. But that's so interesting that Skeens isn't number one
I
with
know.
how good he was doing in AAA. And you can't take the major league stats into consideration here, but very interesting that Skeens isn't number one on this list. Anyways, I digress. Jackson Holiday, number 3. Junior Caminero, number 4, who actually I was not a fan of a couple years ago. I've been proven wrong.
He's
Walker
still
Jenkins, 5. What's that?
Caminero is still a prospect.
AAA. His ETA is this year, though.
Oh yeah, he got sent down. Oh,
Jackson Joby, number 6. Samuel Basalo. I know you've been posting about him like crazy. Number 7. Kobe Mayo, number 8. Jason Dominguez, number 9, who's currently at the big league level. Emmanuel Rodriguez at number 10. And then for reference, Roman Anthony, the Red Sox prospects, number 12. I mean, is there a guy not named James Wood that we should be buying on this list? And not Paul Skeens, because Paul Skeens is at the major league level. He's
First
not
of
coming
all,
back down.
my first thought after you read that first 10 is the Orioles are so deep.
I mean, every year they have a guy in the top 10.
They have 3.
And they got 3 in the top 10. Let's see. I'm trying to think. How many players do they have on this list?
Mayo, Basayo, and Pollock. That's
Orioles.
crazy.
All right.
Mayo's what? Third? No, he's not third. No, he's the third baseman, right? Mayo?
Yes, they have him at third base.
Yeah, so their infield in the year could be Mayo, Gunner, Holiday, and Basayo.
See, they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Kerstad is still on here. He's at 40. 4, 5. They have 6 guys in the top 100. I'd say that's pretty good.
That's disgusting.
I think that's pretty good, especially when you got Kerstad, who is a MLB player right now, for now at least. You had Jackson Holiday, who got called up, and he underperformed, to say the very least. But obviously, he's a major league type of talent. Basala, who I feel like has come out of nowhere this past year, he's killing it in Double-A. I mean, it's Double-A, so I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, that's kind of like where I start is with Double-A. I want to see more consistency. Just like Roman Anthony last year when he got called up to Double-A. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. Like, let me see it for like half a season. And then Kobe Mayo, who's at Triple-A right now. I mean, their infield is just loaded. I mean, no matter what pieces you put where, it's just like, holy crap. And of course, let's not even consider Holiday, Basalo, or Mayo. They're still number 1 in the American League with the roster that they currently have. So, like, they have the ammunition to go out at the deadline and get whoever they want in baseball, really, whoever they want. But they also have ammunition within the system to not have to spend the prospects or the money to improve the roster. And I've heard Kerstad rumors floating around on like, Sirius XM, baseball talk. And I'm like, why would you trade Kerstad? Like, what are you upgrading? Maybe pitching. I'd understand that. But like Cedric Mullins is not coming back next year because I believe he's done at the end of this year. So you could just plug in Kerstad in the outfield because Cedric Mullins is not playing well this year. And I'm sure he's going to want to get paid. You can slide in, the 40th ranked prospect right now. I'm sure he was ranked higher in previous lists. But it's nuts to see. I mean, Dominguez at number 9, which is a little surprising. I remember he was like, top 3, top 5, and then he fell off the face of the earth, and now he's back into the top 10. Where's Marcelo Meyer? That's who I want to know.
Oh, I think he was like in the 40s.
He is 26th right now.
26.
I'll read you his report. A well-rounded game with exciting potential in the batter's box. Mayer has already shown a decent feel to hit and staying power at shortstop with still plenty of physical projection. His ETA is 2025. Let's see. It was a great first full season for Mayer in just about every aspect last year. Well, he was injured last year, so how much of a full season did he really play? The 20-year-old produced impressive offense numbers between low A and high A. This must be a different report then. This must be a report from like 2 years ago. 2023 started well for Meyer before stalling out in Double-A as one of the younger position players at the level. As he refines his aggressive approach and pre-swing moves a bit, he has a chance to develop into an exciting shortstop who can impact the game both offensively and defensively. I'm not sold. I'm not sold. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm
He's
wrong.
dropping off.
It's crazy because he was like, I think, number 6 like the start of last year, and now he's down to 26. And I want to say he was down into the 30s or 40s too at some point last year. And of course, injury plays a factor. But this is why we can't get too excited about prospects at too low of a level, is because they'll look good in single A, whatever, and then they'll just get injured or they'll slump at the next level. I mean, I don't think there's much of a change from single A to double A, but from double A to triple A, there is. And then definitely from triple A to major leagues, there is a huge difference. And we saw that. We didn't see that with Paul Skeens, but I think pitching is its own thing. But we saw that with Jackson Holliday going from AAA to the major leagues. So let me ask you this, Ricky. When Jackson Holliday gets recalled up, what kind of realistic expectations, because I know nobody had realistic expectations when he first got called up, should we have? Should we take it with a grain of salt? Should we get excited again? Nobody's talking about Jackson Holliday in this hobby. Not a soul. No one could care less for a Jackson Holliday trading card. I'm just curious. His cards died.
Yeah.
So, so like everyone was telling me, oh, he's too good to suck. Oh, he's the next best player. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Where are those people now?
I mean,
quiet.
you're talking to one of them now. I thought he was going to be too good to fail, but even Rome collapsed.
But like, I just wanted like, it's funny because like I know you know baseball, but like the people that are like casuals or the investors, let's call them, were so high on this kid. But anyone who has a clue about baseball would know that it is not easy to transfer skills from AAA to Major League Baseball. It's just not. And when the kid was lighting it up in AAA, like, why are we excited or impressed? Like, that's what he should be doing as the number 1 overall pick and the number 1 prospect and all the hype that he has. Like, he should be raking 350 in AAA with, hitting, a dozen bombs. Like, this is what he should be doing. So why get up in arms about it? The Orioles, I know he played second base when he got called up, but the Orioles had a very good shortstop, arguably the best shortstop in baseball right now, Gunnar Henderson, and nobody's talking about him. But everyone's already excited about the next guy. If Jackson Holliday got called up and he played well, or let's say he does get called up and he plays well, are we just going to be on to the next guy? No one cares about Ellie De La Cruz. No one cares about Julio Rodriguez. Nobody cares about, I'm just trying to think of other top guys that got called up. Obviously
Witt.
Jackson Holliday. Who?
Bobby Witt.
No one cares about Bobby Witt for that matter. I mean, it's just like all these prospects that we were so excited for that were number 1 prospects, and then they just fall off. And I'll throw his name in here, Wander Franco. Before the situation, he played good his rookie season, and then he like got injured, and then when he came back, he was okay, but no one cared. So like, I'll even still throw his name into the mix a little bit, just because for when he was still around and still playing, no one could care less. So it's wild that these prospects have become such a pump and dump kind of a thing.
Well, that's what it is at the end of the day. It's buy the rumor, sell the news.
And I agree with that. It's sad in a way. I'll put it that way. It's disheartening because like I want to be right about James Wood, and we've been right so far. But it's only going to matter until he makes the big league level and he performs. That's when it'll matter. And if it does, I mean, yeah, we'll probably sell some James Wood cards to make a little bit of money. But we're still going to be buying his cards because we're still going to want to support him because we still like the guy. Just because he makes it to the big league level and he hits his first home run in, let's say, his second at bat, doesn't mean we're not going to like still support the kid or still like the kid. We're not going to be on to Dylan Cruz, the next Nationals outfielder. Or, we're not just going to jump ship. It's just like this hobby is full of casuals. And I hate to be blunt. I hate to be rude. The hobby is full of casuals. And I'm sorry if the boot fits. I'm sorry, but if the boot fits, then it fits. that's just the unfortunate nature of it. And I mean, I made a video last year, I believe it was, and I think I went over the top 30 prospects, and I forget what the video encompassed. I'll have to look into it. But it was like, oh, here are the guys. Like, here's a list of 30 top prospects. Pick any of these guys. Pick a handful of these guys, and just start buying some of their cards. I mean, they're cheap enough where if they don't pan out, you lost a couple bucks, but they're cheap enough that the reward on the other side should be fruitful enough. And it's funny because I mentioned earlier that I wasn't a Junior Caminero fan, and I think he was like 26th at the time. And I was like, I'm not a fan of this guy. I'm gonna pass. And he's proven me wrong. He's number 4 right now, and he got called up already. He'll get called up again, and the kid's only 20 years old. So sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're wrong.
He's only 20 years old.
20 years old as of June 3rd.
I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like he's been like talked about for a while.
His birthday is July 5th, 2003. He is 5'11", just to let you know. He's short. He's a short guy. He weighs 155 pounds? No way. That's what he's listed as. 5'11", 155 pounds. No way.
Guess that's why he plays baseball.
There's no way. Hold on. I gotta share this. Share screen. There is. Hold on, it's loading. Oh, this isn't it. Oh, it was that. Oh, hold on. Oh, feel free to talk about anything, Ricky, while I pull up this picture. Share screen. Oh, here we go. You gonna tell me that's 155 pounds?
Yeah, no, that is not.
There's no way. Like, listen, I'm not calling him fat or anything like that, but like that's not 100. Like, I'm thinking 155 pounds. I'm thinking like I don't even know, like Deuce Vaughn. Let's see, how much does Deuce Vaughn weigh? Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, did that website put enough watermarks on that picture?
Really? Deuce Vaughn's 5'5" and he's 176 pounds.
Yeah, that is not
like. There's no way.
Yeah, it's not 165.
Hold on. All right, this is the last one. Okay, so the picture you see on your screen, that's 155 pounds. And the picture that I'm about to show you, that's 176 pounds. Like, I understand he's got quads for days. I'm well aware of that.
Quad squad.
But he's 5'5". Like, come on. Like, can we get a little accurate data, please? Anyways, we digressed. Ricky, let's talk about the National here, because that is going to be a fantastic time of the year, as it always is. Like I said, I made a video earlier, so I got a couple points that I want to talk about, but I'll let you fire away anything that you kind of want to brush the surface on in regards to the National.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time of the year for the hobby. You know, football's hot, basketball's going to be hot, baseball will be there. But yeah, no, it's a great time. Everyone's buying. Everyone's looking for the next guy.
Are you buying?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next month.
I say that, are you buying, because I couldn't count how many times people ask me if I'm buying at the show. I at the Mohegan show, I should say. Sorry. At least, Ricky, at least 30 times. I didn't count, but at least 30 times. Are you buying? So here's some of the points that I talked about in the video, and we'll discuss it now because we got the time. Book the hotel now. I think that's very important. I think that's well overstated. You're either going to get a hotel that's probably farther away, or you're paying through the nose for. Sell now if you need money. I think this is a huge point for anybody and everybody. if you want to go, not you, Ricky, just people in general, if
Yeah.
you want to go with $500, 1,000, 2,000, whatever, pick the number, it doesn't matter, and you're not there yet, and you don't have the funds yet, then sell cards now to go there with money. Of course, everybody wants to go and sell their cards there, but you got to ask yourself, what percentage are you going to be selling at? And you'll have absolutely no problem selling your cards there. It just depends on what you're willing to take in terms of a percentage or a price. Everybody wants to be able to walk into the show with money in their pocket. And to do so, especially for those that need to sell now. So you have the cash in your pockets when you walk in. And I think that's super overlooked because people are always wanting to sell, 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 sell. Okay, I get that. But why do you want to just fire sale everything? Are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to fund a different purchase? Are you
Mhm.
trying to pay a bill or whatever? Whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter to me. But if you need to make money so you can walk into the show with money, now's the time to sell. And I said this now because it's going to take time to post them on eBay, on social media. It's going to take time for the auctions to run. It's going to take time to find buyers to buy it now. It's going to take time to ship. It's going to take time for the funds to process and to transfer. So give yourself a month to do all of that. If you do it like a week before, then you might be screwed. I mean, you might be able to fill your PayPal balance and pay people with PayPal at the show, maybe. But cash is king and cash talks. I mean, we all know that. If I have $100 card and you offer me 90 for it in cash, the answer is probably yes. If you offer me 90 in PayPal, then the answer is probably no, just because of fees and such like that. It just, money is king. It's king. Sell now so you don't get caught in the kind of limbo of, oh, cards are in the mail. I'm waiting for PayPal to send me the money and all that good stuff. Get ahead of the curve now. Ricky, do you agree with me on that?
Oh, that's a great point. And it's sell now so you have a better idea of what your plan could be by the time the time comes.
That's a good point.
Because like last year was my first time at the National, so I didn't really necessarily go in with a game plan. I was kind of just soaking it all in, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever happens, happens. But oh yeah, with a big show like that, you definitely want to know what you're gonna do.
It's funny how you mentioned plan because that was actually my fifth point. I made 5 points. My fifth point was literally, I'll even show it to you. Come up with a plan. Literally, come up with a plan. Because if it's your first time, for anybody, if it's your first time and you just want to soak it all in, that is fine. That's great. That's what everyone should do. Soak it all in, embrace it, enjoy it, never forget it. But like for people, maybe it is your first time, but just people in general, they're going to do something. They're going to buy a lot for Whatnot or for card shops or for eBay, or they're going to sell because they're selling for whatever reason out of the many reasons I already mentioned. Maybe they want to get into something bigger. Maybe they want to get out of a card. Maybe they, whatever you're trying to do, come up with a plan. And I use the example of, okay, if you want to sell today, sell today. If you want to buy tomorrow, buy tomorrow. You want to buy football on Thursday, buy football on Thursday. You want to buy Pokemon on Friday, buy Pokemon on Friday. You got a couple big cards that you need to move, look to trade. Look to trade those away and try not to do anything until you do. Whatever the plan is, come up with it and obviously have room for it to adjust, but stick with it. And I think you'll be better off if you have some kind of idea or plan in your mind.
Yeah, it's definitely an overwhelming show.
Yeah. And
So
and and,
you
and
might,
that's what the plan would help with to kind of help
yeah,
ease the overwhelmingness or the nerves or anything like that. Cause it's crowded. It's busy. It's tight. Oh, I got to go to that table because they had a card I wanted to trade for. Boom, go and you don't get distracted because you
yeah.
could easily
Everyone's
get distracted.
everyone's wheeling and dealing everywhere. You gotta when you go up to a table, you gotta know what you're trying to do. You can't just stand there, you
Would
know.
you say that you need to be aggressive in a way. And in terms of trying to sell, in terms of aggressively buying, in terms of aggressively negotiating. Obviously, you don't want to be rude because aggressive can be, can be looked at as rude in a way. But assertive maybe is a better term. Like obviously you don't want to be a pushover. You don't want to just take the first deal you find because you might be able to find a better deal down the road. But how much should aggression, in a good way, of course, or assertiveness play a factor?
I mean, I hate to reference like the influencers and all that stuff, but you watch their videos and be like, when you see them negotiating a deal, they're like, "Oh, take this. Oh, I'll buy for this. No, I don't want to go up. I'll buy for this. Take it, take it, take it." And then
Mm-hmm.
when they sell it, it's like, "Oh, no, I want this. I want this. I'm not going to no blah, blah, blah." It's kind of what you have to do. You kind of have to play a little bully ball if you want to get your way.
Stick to your guns in a way.
Yeah, like you gotta be firm. Well, not like firm on your prices or anything, but don't stick to your plan.
I I'm on like both sides of this. Like in terms of selling, I agree with you. And yeah, I want this. I want to be at that. I have a little room. I can do this, whatever it may be. But when it comes to buying, I'd say you don't need to be aggressive at all because there are thousands of tables and
Yeah.
thousands of vendors that have cards. And I like this example. What was it? I think it was 2 years ago. There was a Luka rookie. I think it was a PSA 9 Prism. I think at the time was like $300. I was able to get it for like a little less than that. I literally turn around and go to two tables down, and they had the same card for like two and a quarter, 225. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was just like beating myself up over it. And from that moment, from that moment, I realized and I told myself, I'm not going to jump on a deal unless I know it's right. And I thought it was a good deal. I thought it was. But when it comes, and this was a bigger show, this was probably like a 200 table, 300 table show. When it comes to those kind of scaled shows, it's okay to be patient and take your time. It really is because you turn around and go to the next table. They might have the same card for $100 less. And especially at the National, you're going to find a million Joe Burrow rookies, Tatum rookies, Luka
Oh yeah.
rookies. You
Oh
pick
yeah.
anybody. So there's no need to jump on the first table. I mean, it's a pro and a con to be one of the first vendors when you first walk in because people are going to gravitate right to your table first. But most people want to make their lap. Now, it's tough to make a lap at the National, but people want to do it. So from that perspective, being the first vendor or one of the first tables there when you first walk in is kind of a disadvantage because people are going to spend their money soon after they make that lap or deep into the lap that they're making. So
Yeah. I
buying,
mean,
dial it back. Don't be as aggressive.
yeah, because I mean, I know when I walk into a show and I like, look at the first table, I see you or say whatever. I always say, I got here, I'm gonna do a lap and then I'll, come back to you, whatever. That's easier to do at a smaller show, but at the
Oh, yeah.
national, that's that's why for the buying you kind of have to be because like if you see a good deal, like at the national at least, yeah, you can make your way back. You can do a lap and then make your way back to the table. But by the time that happens, that's what
That card's
two,
gone.
3 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah.
whatever. And if it was a good card at a decent price, it's gonna be gone.
I feel people need to be very cautious that when it comes to buying because your money will dry up quickly. You will spend money more quickly than you realize because oh, $200 for that? That's a good deal. $300 for that? That's a good deal. You sell something, then you buy something for $800 because you move into a big card, and next thing you know, you spent almost $1,000, or well, actually by that math, over $1,000, and it's like, whoa, wait a second, I only brought like $2,000 with me, and like half my budget's already gone within the first hour. So like it catches up quickly. And that's why I think come up with a plan. Again, whatever that plan is important. Like at a local show, like you said, like you could see all the tables probably from wherever you're standing. So like, oh, it's right over there. Like you can go right over there, walk 10 seconds and you're there. Where at the national, you're right. It's going to take 2-3 hours to make that lap and it could be gone. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. But like, I don't want people to have buyer's remorse, whether they bought it too soon or they bought it or they walked away and the card's not
Yeah.
there anymore. So that's why having a plan, again, whatever the plan is, everyone's going to have a different plan, is important. But I mean, come up with a plan. Make sure you keep track of your budget, your finances. I mean, the money will go quickly. I mean, more quickly
Rise
than
up.
you realize. And I'm not even talking about the concession stands either, which actually, funny enough, snacks and water is on there because you walk in at like say 9-10 o'clock. Next thing you know, it's 12, 1, 2, and you're hungry for lunch, and lunch is going to cost you $30. And like, yeah, it's only $30, but for people on a budget, that's $30 that they're not be able to spend on a card. And you're there for multiple days. Next thing you know, you're spending $100, not including dinner. It adds up quick. It adds up very, very quickly. And the last thing I had on here, Ricky, was check market trends. Obviously, now compared to the end of July, it's going to be very different.
Yeah.
We're going to have an NBA champion crowned. We'll have a Stanley Cup champion crowned. We're going to see film of Anthony Richardson looking good on the practice field or whatever. We're going to have an injury pop up. I mean, things are going to change. Some player is going to get called up. They're going to heat up, or some, like a star player is going to cool down. Whatever it is, it's going to change. But how important is market trends, whether it's performance-based or price-based, up or down, left or right? Is it important? How far should you do it in advance, if at all? Or should you kind of just do it like the night before?
I feel like market trends are everything, especially if you want to buy and sell like at the correct time, the correct person, and all that stuff. Learning trends is everything. Like even recognizing when football sells best or basketball sells best, and then you want to trickle it down to the players and the cards and all that. Beginning there, learning what sport sells best, that's a great start. And then once you recognize that, you'll see which players are selling the best at that time, blah, 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 blah. That's how you, like, the better you know a market, the better you'll be.
Do you think, now I feel like this is like an unwritten rule of thumb, but do you think the National is the time to buy football? Do you think it's at the last cheapest point, or are we already at the point where it's already beginning to tick up in terms of buying? Because vendors may not want to sell because the season hasn't started, or maybe they want to try to take advantage and have their prices higher and be like, hey, listen, if it doesn't sell, I don't care. I'll sell it for my number, at another show or at a shop or whatever like that. Because just in July in general, all you have is baseball going on right now, or at that time, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But football training camp is, I think, starts at the end of July. Then you got preseason. So it's like, yeah, football's arriving. I personally think it's the last chance to buy football at a good price. But especially with nothing else going on, with the exception of baseball. But we already mentioned that casuals don't really care about baseball too much.
Yeah. Circling back to buy the rumor, sell the news thing. Like people, like let's be realistic. People aren't going to be buying Will Levis by week 4.
Why not? Is he gonna suck?
He's not. But right now they're going to buy him because of speculation. So around now in the National, that's probably the time to sell guys like him.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Last year, I think we would both agree that the buys last year were what? T-Law and Fields, I think, were the two big buys last year that everyone was kind of supporting.
Yeah.
Who are they this year? And try not to include the rookie quarterbacks this year because they don't have their pro cards yet. And people around here in New England don't care about collegiate cards. So you go anywhere else in the country, they do. So it might be different there than what we're talking about now. But if you were to name two quarterbacks, and I know CJ Stroud's going to be one of them. So name me one quarterback. Who's it going to be? And why?
Yeah,
And why?
definitely CJ Stroud.
It's
I
tough.
don't
I
know.
mean, I have an idea, but I think it's so
I,
basic.
I was gonna say Jared Goff.
Goff. I did not see that coming.
I
But
know I
wow.
didn't see it either, but I just think the Lions are so they have potential. I just think they're really good.
So the guy I was thinking was Anthony Richardson. Super basic, looked good his first those games that he played, and then he was injured. But I want to be spicy, and I'm going to sound like a bandwagon, but I'm going to say Bryce Young. I think that's going to be a sneaky buy. I think Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud will be the two guys that people
Yeah.
will be buying. But I think if you look at the Panthers, they improved everywhere. And that's what the Texans did when they went into that offseason. They drafted CJ Stroud. They drafted the quarterback. They got a receiver in Tank Dell. They drafted Will Anderson. They brought in uh, D'Amico Ryans. I mean, they just improved everywhere. And they further improved the team this year. On top of that, I think now, obviously, the Panthers could, shit the bed just as much as I'm saying that I think they'll do good. But I think for the price point of Bryce Young, I mean, just in a vacuum, people are going to buy CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson first. So by
Mhm.
rule of thumb, their cards are going to be more expensive. And that's where that second tier kind of range of the Bryce Young cards, I kind of think, live. Because all Bryce Young needs to do is just look good and play good, which he did for the most part his rookie season. It's just the team sucked and they couldn't catch balls and the defense was horrid. You know, but if he looks good with the roster, and again, I sound like a bandwagon, I know, but I'm trying to keep my bias out of it. That being the first overall pick, former first overall pick, having a new coach with some talented receivers, a decent O line, you'd like to think, and then a decent defense that they did improve, you'd like to see that there is improvement in Bryce Young as well. Will he make the playoffs? I'm not saying that. Will he be more, his cards be generally more valuable than CJ Stroud? No, I'm not saying that. But it could rival it. Could rival it. At least Anthony Richardson, who hasn't done anything, with the exception of look good for 4 games. I think he could at least rival Anthony Richardson first before competing with CJ Stroud in the hobby market.
Yeah, I mean, three guys are definitely going to be some of, if not the hottest names.
I mean, let me just ask you this. You can think for yourself or you can think for the hobby in general. If I was to show you well, actually, no, I couldn't even say Prism Auto because they don't sign. Just an auto of CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson. If you were to rank them in terms of how you would buy them, money aside, the majority of the hobby is going to go Stroud, Richardson, Bryce Young. And I think you would do that as well. And I think anyone that I'd ask would probably do that as well. That's why I think Bryce Young's a really good buy at the National.
That's fair. It'll
All right.
definitely be cheap.
That's the point. Like, let's just say a CJ Stroud auto is $1,000. Anthony Richardson's probably going to be $800 to $900. I think the Bryce Young would be between $500, $600, maybe $700. I mean, I think that's a huge discount for a guy that has just as much as potential as the other two.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. So, Ricky, we are up against it. We didn't get to chat about the cards, but we can chat about them off camera. But walking away from this episode, I think we had a very good in-depth episode. I would love to know your outgoing takes for the next couple weeks.
By James Wood.
Is it too late?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
The window's closing very quickly.
Do I sell? Do I sell James Woods or no?
Right now, are you selling James Wood? I would not sell quite yet.
Okay.
Wait till
I
he
wouldn't
gets the
either.
call. Wait till he gets the call.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's all about timing. All about timing. The
I I
better
I
you learn timing, the better you'll do.
I agree with the timing thing. I think timing is very, very important. I I want to go back to kind of your sneaky pick of Jared Goff because I think timing is super important. Big contract extension. They made the NFC title game. I think we could see maybe another quarterback kind of come out of the woodworks. I mean, people have dialed back on Joe Burrow, even, to a degree, a guy that's been to the Super Bowl, who has A+ receiver. I mean, a guy like him, bless you, a guy like him might be a little undervalued potentially. I mean, it's all about timing. Like, no one's talking about Joe Burrow right now. Nobody's talking about a Tua, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy for that matter, and he just made the Super Bowl. So I think kind of getting those kind of quarterbacks now is that good timing that we're talking about, especially where you get some of their patches, their lower end autos, their low numbered cards from lower, your scores and your classics and your lower end products. I think are really, really good buy because obviously the flawless and stuff like that is still going to be through the roof. But I think timing is very important. And I think the timing for almost anybody not named CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, I think is a really good time because the majority of people will be focused on those guys and that'll
Yeah.
allow other people to buy the other cards. So, Ricky, fantastic episode. Hopefully, when we sit down, Celtics have won banner 18, and we'll be able to talk more about the national. We'll be able to talk more about baseball, maybe some outgoing takes about the basketball season and what's ahead for both that and football. But as always, thank you so much for joining, guys. Please press all the buttons, and we will see you for next episode in 2 weeks. See you guys.